Today we're going to be discussing some fragrances that are sadly gathering dust in my collection. I'm making this video to try and go back to some fragrances I may have forgotten about over time on the channel. These are not necessarily bad fragrances. Actually, some of these are really highly rated. It's just that for various reasons, I've just forgotten about them, whether it's maybe they're becoming a little bit outdated, I have better alternatives, the times are changing, there's different reasons. I want to highlight these fragrances to you. Maybe you'll consider buying them from watching this video. I think a lot of these are good. Pretty much all of these are really good, actually. Let's discuss them and see why I'm not reaching for them so often nowadays. First up is the Eau Sauvage Eau de Toilette. I can see why this is gathering dust. This is an okay fragrance. I do think Sauvage, the original, still relevant to this day. It's sexy, it's gonna get you compliments. I think a lot of people are gonna still buy this, even with or without this video. This video is irrelevant to the sales of the Eau Sauvage Eau de Toilette. I just feel like as a reviewer, you get over this fragrance straight away. It's kind of a basic fragrance. It's everyone's first fragrance. I think it's very good, actually. I still think it's very well blended. For me, I'm always gonna reach for Sauvage Parfum over this. Maybe if I want a bit more projection, I'd reach for this. Maybe in the club, this would be a better fragrance, but I don't know. I feel like the Eau Sauvage Eau de Toilette, as a reviewer, maybe there's like a sense of you can't be taken seriously if you keep talking about this fragrance for too long, maybe in the early days. I just feel like as a reviewer, so many options, you kind of have to go to something a bit more complex, interesting, new, different. But again, I can't say this is a bad fragrance. I'd probably still give the original Sauvage at least an 8 out of 10. I still think it's a very good scent. Maybe I'm being unfair. Maybe I should be talking about this more often, but I just do feel like reviewers kind of have to move on quite quickly to be seen as interesting. Maybe it's our problem. Maybe it's just like a toxic thing in the community. Maybe we are too snobby when it comes to certain designer fragrances, it seems. YSL's YEDP Intense. This and YEDP are both gathering dust in my collection. Problem with this and Eau Sauvage, I think, is they're quite synthetic. They can become outdated. The more synthetic a fragrance is, the more the molecules are kind of out of date and not as relevant as they used to be. More natural fragrances are a little bit more timeless from what I can tell. YEDP Intense, I think, is the best version of Y as your daily fresh driver. It's a little bit less focused on the sage. I don't think the apple notes is there anymore. This is just more smooth, creamy, soapy. It's a really nice blue fragrance. I think it's just better done, better blended than YEDP. YEDP might project a little bit more, but it's a little bit more brash, a little bit more sharp, synthetic, in your face. This is a bit more mellow, a little bit softer in its projection, but still, I would say, medium projector with a very good performance as well. I think around 10 hours. So that synthetic factor, as well as the Loewe 7 Cobalt existing, are probably why I'm not reaching for this that often. The Loewe 7 Cobalt, to me, is a superior kind of genre fragrance similar to this. They're both quite sporty, fresh, blue, easy to wear. 7 Cobalt is a bit more natural, a bit more handsome, sexy, in my opinion. That's my recommendation over this, honestly. So again, maybe I'm being snobby, but I'm just seeing that the YEDP line is kind of like a basic line that you can kind of get over nowadays. There are better options. The fragrance game is changing, guys. We got to keep up. But no, I still don't think this is bad. I think maybe I should reach for it more often. It's quite a beastly blue fragrance. It's a bit more long lasting than 7 Cobalt, in fairness. So maybe I should go back to this and revisit it more often. 37.9% of people who watch School of Scent are subscribed to us. If you guys really want to see our channel grow, go ahead and click subscribe. Let's get that number to 40%. Thank you. Lalique's Encre Noire à l'extrême. Now this is quite sad. I gave this fragrance a 10 out of 10 in one of our most viral videos, and that cheap fragrances I give a perfect 10 out of 10. But I can see, look, I'm having to wipe up the dust, guys. I haven't reached for this in such a long time. I think this is a cool fragrance. I think back in the day, it used to be a cool idea how this was quite expensive smelling for how affordable it is. If you guys don't know what this fragrance smells like, it smells like dark, woody sandalwood patchouli. It smells like the dark dampness of a forest with a woody cabin nearby. You smell edgy, dark with this. It's quite a weird fragrance, a bit polarizing, but I think it's fantastic quality, fantastic longevity, around 12 hours with a medium projection. But to me, it is that weirdness and the fact that there's a lot more fragrances nowadays that do smell much more expensive than their price tag. Of course, Middle Eastern fragrances are going everywhere these days. So for me, I just feel like if I want a more polarizing scent profile that's dark, I'd go for something like Interlude Black Iris. Maybe it's the fact that I have expensive fragrances that are dark. This is just a little bit of an acquired taste. It's a bit tricky to wear out and about. Maybe that's why I'm not reaching for it as often as I should, but I do think this is really good still, though. I feel like I'm not appreciating it enough. What do you guys think? Have you tried this fragrance from Lalique? Versace, the Dreamer. Again, another classic in the collection. It's not bad. It's quite cool. It's iconic. It just smells a bit outdated. It smells like the 90s. It's a lavender tobacco floral fragrance. It's quite musky, quite high in the tonka bean in there. It's just an acquired taste again. It's polarizing. It's similar to Lalique Encre Noire Extreme. It's got its own character, which can be a bit tricky to wear, but this does smell cheaper than Encre Noire Extreme, in my opinion. 6 to 8 hours longevity. You can wear this most of the year round. I do think this is a fragrance that, as a beginner, you see how affordable it is. You try it out. You kind of just go blind buy it a lot of times, I think, and it's either for you or it isn't. For me, it's just not a DNA that I gravitate towards that much. Maybe again, it's because I have so many niche fragrances. If I want something weird, I'll go to them. This, I'm just not reaching for anymore. What do you guys think about the Dreamer nowadays? Bentley for Men Intense. Sorry guys, I'm just wiping off some of that dust on here. So Bentley for Men Intense is mature, woody, leathery, boozy. It's got a nice ambery glow to it. Again, back in the older days of the fragrance community, this was iconic for smelling much more expensive than its price tag. That's kind of how it became famous as a really good quality cheapie for sure. So we're staying in the same category of cheapies I'm not reaching for as much as I used to. I used to actually hate this fragrance. I gave it a 6 out of 10 when I first tried it. Then I bumped it up to a 9 out of 10. This is actually my second bottle. I'm not sure. Maybe I had a bad batch originally. I'm not sure what happened there, but this is a good fragrance. For me, though, I would reach for something like Jazz Club if I want a boozy, sexy fragrance to wear in the evening times. This, it does still smell quite simple, but it smells good quality. I do still think it's a very good fragrance. I still stick with that score of 9 out of 10, but it's a little bit mature, a little bit, I don't know, not as interesting as some other boozy fragrances I have in my collection. Maybe that's why I'm not reaching for it. But I think still this is very good as a beginner. If you want a mature beginner, fantastic quality, good value for money, cheapie, I still think Bentley for Men Intense is really good. What do you guys think? Does it still deserve its high score in 2025? Dior's Eau Sauvage Eau de Toilette. Okay guys, just this fragrance and one more Dior fragrance and then the Dior bashing will be done for this video. But overall, I do think Dior Sauvage is a great fragrance. I was actually really surprised by this. I thought because this is a fragrance from the 60s, it would smell outdated. I actually received this bottle from Dior buying guide a long time ago as a gift. So I got this gifted. I was just really surprised by how it still smells very modern. In my opinion, it smells timeless, as I was saying, with those use of naturals. It's a classical fougere barbershop fragrance. Lemony, light, refreshing. Citrus is in here, the white neroli, the musks, the barbershop vibes. Really handsome, timeless, a bit old school in fairness. I think for a mature gentleman though, you'll still feel modern enough wearing this. It lasts around 6 hours from what I remember, maybe 6 to 8 hours. This is just really well blended. It's got a lot of complexity here. I think it's just a really good piece of classical perfumery. So I think I'd always keep this in the collection because it is a piece of history. I believe this is the first mainstream fragrance, I believe, something like that, where this had a high amount of hedione in it. And even for now, like compared to today's standards, it doesn't have that much hedione in it, but hedione back then was a new molecule, which it's the molecule that pretty much every fragrance has in it nowadays. It gives a lightness and airiness to a fragrance, makes it more mass appealing. So this kind of was a trailblazer. This is an important fragrance. And Fahrenheit as well. The original Fahrenheit was also iconic in that regard for introducing Ice Super to higher amounts in the industry. So yeah, I think it's a cool fragrance, historical. I'm not sure if I'd ever reach for this personally nowadays. Maybe I should. If I want to, maybe if I'm wearing a suit, I want to go smell really rich, luxurious in the summertime, smell gentlemanly, especially in the summertime. I feel like that's the kind of fragrance you'd wear this for. So maybe if I'm wearing like a bright, light suit, this is the kind of fragrance I'd wear. What do you guys think of Eau Sauvage Eau de Toilette? The original YSL's La Nuit de l'Homme. This is an iconic fragrance, especially back when Jeremy was hyping it up all the time. Like, this is a very sexy DNA for sure. It doesn't perform that well. Everyone knows this. Everyone now who's paying attention to the community knows this, but it is very sexy. It's really sexy day-night fragrance. It's very easy to wear. Airy, cardamom, woody, lavender, very balanced. Actually, smelling it now, maybe I should just wear it more often. This is actually really attractive, but the performance is just terrible. A lot of people, myself included, you know, if you own Bleu Électrique, you're going to go with that. It's a little bit more modern, more balanced, but this is definitely more specialized, I would say, for a romantic date-night scenario. It's probably still one of the perfect fragrances for that. I wish it was just a little bit stronger. And also for me, La Nuit de l'Homme Le Parfum exists, which I got it back in my collection, the second bottle. I regretted giving away the first bottle. Really sexy, more of a bad boy take on this kind of DNA. Also great for the evening times. You want to wear it to gigs, wear it on a date as well. It is a sexy fragrance. So the fact that I have Bleu, Électrique, and Le Parfum might be the reason why I'm not reaching for the original as much anymore, but maybe I should. Just smelling it now, it smells incredible. It is one of the best DNAs ever made in the designer game. It lasts maybe around 4 hours on my skin. So maybe the lesson on this story is don't buy too many flankers on the same line. Get maybe 1 or 2 at most. Okay guys, last Dior fragrance, Dior Homme. This is now the original, but this is the original Dior from 2011. I believe this is 2011 bottle. I think it was 2005. I think this is 2011, but don't quote me on that. But however, this is the original DNA before Dior Homme 2020 came out and it changed the direction of this line. I'm not sure why they gave it the same name, if it's a completely different take on the Dior Homme DNA. The original Dior Homme kind of, again, historical. I don't think I'll ever get rid of this in my collection. I think this is a 10 out of 10. This is historical for introducing iris into masculine perfumery. So it's powdery, floral. It can be a little bit makeup-y, feminine if you apply it in too high concentrations, but this is masculine, woody, gets it right. It does it justice in the men's category of fragrances. I think there's a cacao note in here as well. So woody, powdery, handsome, iconic, beautiful, unique. It's an artistic fragrance that lasts around 12 hours from the last time I remember it, around medium projection. I think this is a great signature. It's just that I'm not as much of an iris fiend as some other guys are. I don't care about iris that much. I feel like maybe this style is not as revolutionary as it once was. If I want to go for iris, maybe I'll go for Prada L'Homme Intense. If I want a powdery vibe, it's not necessarily iris, but I'll go for Guerlain's Linston de Guerlain Eau de Parfum instead also. So maybe that's why I feel like this is kind of overlapping with many other fragrances. I say don't have too many iris fragrances in your collection in general, unless you're an absolute fiend for that note. But I still think this is iconic. This is still a 10 out of 10. Okay, and then last 2 fragrances from Armani. Acqua di Gio Parfum. Don't get me wrong, this is a sexy DNA. I just think, again, it's like the Sauvage issue that I was saying before. It's your beginner's foundational scent that eventually, as a collector, you kind of get bored of it, you kind of move on. I think the aquatic genre in general needs a rejuvenation, but for me personally, if I want an aquatic fragrance, I go for our own Mr. Maritime or Mr. Radiance, one of the two from our own brand Atrium, or I go for Light Blue Eau Intense. I still have more of a draw to that fragrance DNA. Acqua di Gio is still a sexy DNA. It's very safe. It'll still get you through a lot of scenarios in our public reaction video as well. And to be fair, against Mr. Maritime and against Allure Sport, again, Allure Sport, the original, I'd wear that instead over this, but in that video this actually won, to be fair to this DNA, so it still gets the job done. It's an iconic. I think this Parfum concentration actually replicates Essenza, a discontinued flanker from a long time ago. It's a bit more herbaceous, clean, a great daytime signature, a really sexy, citrusy, aquatic scent. It's an iconic DNA, one of the best sellers of all time for men in general. So for me, again, maybe I'm just getting over this DNA. It's a bit too basic, perhaps. Maybe I'm being unfair, and that's why I don't think I'm reaching for this as often anymore. But hey, the summertime's coming up, so maybe I'll come back and revisit this more. Do you guys have any particular strong feelings about the Acqua di Gio line nowadays in 2025? Let us know. And lastly, Emporio Armani Stronger With You, absolutely. Again, in fairness, I got this gifted, but I do think the Absolutely fragrance, the flanker, is one of the best in the line. That rum note's quite sexy. It still has that iconic chestnut, woody, ambery backbone of the Stronger With You lineup. It's a safe DNA. It's a well-performing DNA. You can wear this maybe 3 out of 4 seasons, not in the summertime. It's got good versatility. It's an evening DNA for sure. I do like the Stronger With You line in general. I feel like everyone could pick up one that they'll really enjoy, but you don't really need more than 1 or 2 at most. But all the flankers do overlap. It becomes a little bit redundant very quickly. So although I do like that rum boozy twist that the Absolutely flanker goes for, I still think the Stronger With You DNA is for beginners, in my opinion. Maybe I'm being harsh, maybe I'm being too dismissive, but I just don't reach for this DNA. Again, Jazz Club I'd go for instead for that boozy vibe, or I would go for something like Azzarro's The Most Wanted Parfum instead. I feel like it has a very similar vibe to this. That's a bit more modern. So again, it's that idea of you kind of move on as a collector and they're more superior alternative takes with a similar idea, in my opinion. But maybe I'm being unfair. Let me know, guys. But that concludes this video, guys. So I think I've developed as a fragrance collector. I think after a while, we all go through this. You have fragrances in your collection you just don't reach for anymore, even though they can still be quite good. But maybe I really do need to revisit these. Maybe I'm not giving them enough credit. What do you guys think? Am I being harsh or am I being fair to these fragrances? What do you think of my list today from the ones I've highlighted? And let me know, guys, what fragrances in your collection do you think are sadly gathering dust, are actually quite good, but you just haven't been reaching for them for some reason? You can let us know in the comments down below. If you guys enjoyed this video, make sure to check out our recent video of niche fragrances that are full bottle worthy. I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye.